Morning, friends. Today I decided to make Torresmos. Over here we call Torresmos. When we were growing up, my mom used to call Torresmos VINHA because they would go and marinade in a Marinade. So that's what I'm gonna show you. What I'm gonna make. I'm making some for some clients, so I thought I would show you. So I usually use, they call cushion or also the pork shoulder. And for some of you don't know what pork shoulder looks like, there's some with bone and there's some without bone. I could only find one with a bone, so I'm gonna try to take the bone. And what I use the bone for, I use it for soups, for stock. I use it for different things. And sometimes I even put when I make the Torresmos, I put the bone in, and it'll give a good flavor to the meat. So anyway, I'm gonna cut this meat into chunks. I'm gonna put it here in a bowl, and I'm gonna remove. And I like this meat because it has some fat. And in order for you to do Torresmos, you need some fat. Not a lot, but you need some. So if I see that there's like big chunks of fat, I try to remove it because I don't like a lot of fat like this. And I don't throw this fat away. After I keep it in the freezer, after I have a certain amount, or when I'm running low on fat that I render, then I'll put all that in a pot and render it and make some what do we call VINHA. Sometimes I like to use the VINHA. It gives a better flavor. So anyway, let me move this over here. And all I'm gonna do is, I don't like to cut too big chunks. Because they're gonna shrink. So I'd say maybe about 2-inch chunks, something like this. It's bigger than when you do for the linguiça. When you cook for the linguiça, I use the same kind of meat, or this, the pork shoulder, or also what they call cushion, which I think the cushion is part of the pork shoulder. I'm not sure, but anyway. So I'm just gonna cut this. This is for some customers that I have for tomorrow. So I'm gonna cut this today. I'm gonna marinate it, and then I'll cook all this tomorrow. And the old days, my mom, they used to do this when they killed the pig. And they would, everything, the stuff that was to be salted, they would go salted. And then there were some things that needed to be cooked, and so this is what my mom would do. They would marinate this in vinagre, and then they would cook it. And then after it's cooked, they would put in the terracotta pots, which I have one, and I'll show you what they look like. And this fat that they would render, they would put on top when they filled the pot with the meat, with the cooked meat, because there was no refrigerators, there was no freezers. They would put the cooked meat in there, and then they would preserve it with fat, the pig's fat. That's why they did all that. And it was to preserve all the meat. So anyway, and this, I marinate mine, very simple. There's people who put all kinds of stuff. I just put garlic, pepper, malagueta, and wine and salt. That's it. And I'm very successful with it. I have people lined up to order Torresmos. They love the Torresmos. So see, there's some big chunks of fat. You don't want this. I mean, you don't want somebody to be eating and just biting and a big chunk of fat. So this is the part that when we render, and if it has meat, we call this torresmos brancos, the white torresmos. My mom used to have also, she used to make with the costeletas, which is the ribs. She used to make this also, this torresmos with that. So anyway, I had to leave this out because it was frozen. There's still some pieces, they're frozen, and that's good. You want some, well, it makes it easy to cut if it's still a little frozen. Anyway, and I'm just gonna work around this bone. Take as much meat as you can, but don't, because sometimes it's kind of hard, and don't strain yourself to take, because these make a good stock for soup, or like I said, even if you make soup, you can put this bone. I put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in a freezer, label, when I need it, I have it. So I'm just working around the bone to take the meat. And see, this is the most of the bone. There's not much I can take out of here, and I'm not gonna strain myself, except this little piece here. See, this is bone. So anyway, I usually make quite a bit of amount that I think this one has 14 pounds, and I have another one marinating in the fridge, has 16 pounds. So, and I do this, what I wanted to say is, my mom they used to do this in pots, these big cast iron pots. The matanza, when they kill pig, it would last about 3-4 days. Doing all this, and so anyway, I'm gonna do mine in the oven. I've done it for years. So that's what I'm gonna do mine. It's funny, I thought I was the only one who did in a pot, in the oven, and I just saw a video of Leonor Sanch, and she also does in the oven. But I've been doing it for years, actually, since I came over here to the United States and I started doing torresmos. I always did it in the oven. I think because I never had enough big stoves that, and these electrical stoves, you can't keep a pot too long in a stove because it burns all the wires. So I think that's why I start doing in a stove. I did in the pan that I used to cook my turkey, which now I don't even cook turkey, I fry turkey. I've been frying turkey, so now I use the pan for other stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna take this other bone, and you want a sharp knife for this. That's why I said be very careful when you're cutting, because if you have a sharp knife, it's very easy to slip because the meat is so soft. So if it's a little frozen, it makes it easy because the knife doesn't jump. That's what you do. So you cut all your meat into chunks, and you put your garlic, put your malagueta, and I have malagueta that I make. I have peppers, but my peppers this year are not gonna give me anything because it's been so hot and no rain. We have very little rain here in California, and then we are a little short of water. You can only water certain days. Can't water every day. It's not like the Azores was free. Water was free. Here we pay for it. Pay for everything, but still a beautiful country. Anyway, when we were kids, we used to hate doing this. Only time we would enjoy it was if the neighbors came and helped, which that's where's a matanza. A matanza, it was a time for free food. Everybody came. Mom would make these big meals. And it's like, why are these people all here? They didn't do anything. No, it was free food. So, anyway. Some of these little pieces. And if I see that there's fat that is not supposed to be there, or it's too much, I cut it. And if there's some meat, even better. I make my nice white Torresmos. And I'll have to do something with them. I think I have some more that I saved in the freezer. So, anyway, I'm gonna cut this all up, and then I'll come back. Okay, I finished cutting my meat, and now I'm gonna marinate. Here I have my garlic. I buy the big bags of garlic, and what I do is I put it in a jar and I cover with olive oil. That way the garlic doesn't go bad. I don't chop the garlic. I just keep it whole, and then when I need it, I just put it in the food processor, and the garlic is good. It's fresh, and it didn't go bad, and it lasts me for quite a bit. In here I have my malagueta. This is the one I make. I buy the pepper, and I put it in a pot with water. I pretty much boil the peppers. Sometimes it could be bell peppers, and sometimes it's the malagueta. We don't find very much the malagueta here. Only find is the green ones, jalapenos and that other peppers. I haven't been able to find and this is 2 cups of burgundy wine. I like the burgundy wine. And I don't think it's as sweet, and it does good. And then salt. I'm gonna put 5 teaspoons. There's a lot of meat in here, and you need to marinate all this meat in salt. And then what I do is, before I cook it, I try it and see if it needs more. Because if the meat is not salted good, it kind of gives a funny taste. I don't like it. So I'm gonna marinate this and keep it in the freezer. In the refrigerator overnight. And this one I'm gonna cook tomorrow. But I already had a 16-pound marinated that I made last night that I'm gonna cook today. So I just put it in my pan. And in here, this is where I have the other one. I have the bones. I'm gonna put the bones in there, and they're gonna go marinating. And then I'll add it with this. So I'm gonna pour this in here, and then I'll start showing what I'm gonna do with it. Okay, friends. These are the ones, the Torresmos that they were marinated from last night. I put them in this pan, and that's the one that I take it to the oven. But what I do before I put it in the oven, I kind of heat it through because I'm gonna I already put some of the fat that I render from the fat that I take it, and I keep it in the refrigerator. Also, this could be from when I cook bacon. I just put all the fat in here, and then when I need it, I have it. Don't be alarmed that there's too much fat, because I take some out of it at the end. But what it does is, this fat, it helps to crisp up, especially at the end. It helps crisp up some of it's almost like frying. You're gonna cook it in there, and then at the end, you kind of almost frying the meat. But this usually is how big amount that I make. So I dumped all the sauce, all the marinade in here. And if I find that it needs a little bit more liquid, I add more wine. But I think this is fine. So I'm just gonna render a little bit of that fat to kind of melt. And I already have my oven at 400. So I'm gonna cover this with foil and put it in my oven at 400 for at least three hours. I'll check in between. If I see that the meat is cooked, then I take the foil and let it dry out and just keep stirring until it crisps up, the outside crisps up. So, and this is what I'm gonna do today. Torresmos VINHA, San Miguel style, my style. Because there's people, and I don't put no bay leaf, no cinnamon. There's people who put cinnamon and allspice. I don't do none of that. All it is the garlic, the pimenta, the malagueta, and wine and salt. That's it. Now, my malagueta has no spice. If you wanted a little spice, then you would buy the pepper. You buy it in the store. Usually it has a little spice, but my people that I'm cooking this for, they don't care for spice. To heat, I mean, they don't care for hot pepper. So I might put a little bit of black pepper, but even that, it's not that often I do that. So I'm gonna cover this, and then I'm gonna put it in the oven. And then, hey friends, I told you I would show the pot, the terracotta pot that my mom used to use for putting the torresmos, or putting that fat that they render. This is the pot. Sure, all of you are familiar with. So they would put all the meat, the cooked meat that I just did, all in here. Then they would top it off with that fat that they render from the pig. So when they needed some meat, they would move some of the fat out, take what they need, then push the fat back in. Sometimes she would even take some and melt it, and then cover again to make sure it was covered proper, so it wouldn't get mold and go bad. But this, and they would have like a lid that would cover this, a terracotta lid that would cover. So this is what they used to use for a lot of the salted meats. They would put the raw meat in here and salted, and they would keep it in here. And this was our refrigerators and our freezers years ago. Me growing up, this was what we had. When I was a teenager, then electricity came, and even then there was not a lot of space for putting stuff in the freezer. It was the minimum. There was not this big freezers. After I left, then that's when my mom got the big freezer. But until then, all the meats pork meat were all in here. The linguiça used to be put it in here, covered with fat. The blood sausage was in here covered with fat. The pork belly was salted, was raw, so they would put it in here and salt it. So that was the thing that took the longest time after killing a pig, was assembling and knowing how to cover this with all that rock salt. So anyway, so I wanted to show you what the terracotta that I'm talking about when we used to store food, and it could have been salted or could have been cooked but covered with the pig's fat. So anyway, here you have it. Okay, friends, I just took my Torresmos out of the oven, and what I've been doing is taking some of this juice and some of the fat. It's some of that fat that I put it in, and I can show you. You can see it here. See, this top, that's all fat, and the bottom is some of the juice from the Torresmos. And let me show you what do they look like. This is what they look. See, they're all kind of dry. And then tomorrow I reheated from my customers. And what it does is now, because it's cooked and it keeps absorbing some of that juice, so tomorrow it's even more delicious than if it was just done today. But what another thing it's going to do is, if there's any little piece of fat, it's going to solidify, and I'll be able to take it out so you don't have so much. So all that fat that I put in at the beginning, I'm able to get it all out because I make this the day before. And plus it still gives more flavor to the Torresmos. So now I'm going to put this in a container and put it in the refrigerator. So tomorrow I'll put back in this and kind of just reheat, take some of that fat, reheat it, and then I was able to give it to my customers. And I'm going to boil some potatoes. So some new potatoes going to go with this. And you want some of that juice because that's what you're going to put it over the potatoes, and it's delicious. So anyway, this is my Torresmos VINHA done my way, my style. It's very simple, no complicated ingredients. So next time when you're at the store, get some pork shoulder and try this, and you'll see your family will love it. And it's easy. This is ideal for a party, for a family, holidays. This is the kind of thing you want it done ahead of time. And actually by doing ahead of time, it tastes better tomorrow. So anyway, until next time, have a good day. Get cooking.